Hello, welcome to another live Google Hangout on the Living Income Guaranteed. And today and for the remainder of some weeks, we are going to be focusing on basic income movement. And today we are focusing on Europe with Universal Basic Income Movement. And we have Valerija Korošec with us from Slovenia, from the UBI movement. For our viewers, UBI for short is Universal Basic Income. We will be referring it as such for practicality. So Valerija, welcome to the Hangout and thanks for being here.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
So to all of our viewers, I'd like to remind you that this is a live transmission. Therefore, if you're watching in the Google event, you have to be logged into your Google Plus account in order to place comments, questions for Valerija throughout the about 40 minutes that we will be having this discussion. Make sure you get your questions and comments throughout that time frame, as well as if you're watching to the repetition of this Hangout on YouTube, make sure you leave your comments there and we will ensure that Valerija gets the comments and questions. So Valerija, first of all, let's get into the context of UBI movement in Slovenia, to which you belong and take part of for quite some time now. So can you share us a little bit of the history and what's your current role in it?
Well, our movement started not so much ago, about 6 years. And it started actually because of the, I don't know, the crisis, economic crisis, and the new government who came, and the finance minister started to talk about basic income and minimum wage, like basic income 500 euros and minimum wage 1,000 euros, and that was such a big surprise that a great debate in the alternative media started. And then I joined the debate in media. I started to write, I wrote some articles, and some people who read it came to me and asked me if we can make a movement. So we did. But I have to say, before that, one book was published like 12 years ago, where the idea was already published, and Philip van Parijs, the European most famous proponent for basic income, so the idea was already there. It was only new people who came in debate.
So in terms of your background, can you share a little bit about that? Because many people might think that this movement is only comprised of people that were already somehow experts in economics, politics only. And is it so that only people with specific professions can join in? Or what's the intent of the movement in itself? Or how is it comprised?
Well, you see, that's my problem, because in that movement, I'm like having 3 different roles. So I have to say that I work at the Institute of Macroeconomic Analysis and Development, and I do have master degree in social policy analysis. So that's why maybe my debate was a little bit more professional. And of course, I did proposal for Slovenia, which showed how Slovenia could finance basic income. And to even bigger surprise, we showed with the numbers that the basic income could be implemented at once that year without any additional financial public costs. So that's why this proposal was quite surprised in a way in debate, and we were at the beginning quite optimistic. We even thought that our social Minister for Social Affairs will accept that proposal as an alternative to the social welfare change he was starting at the same time. But the next question is that because there was no response in the policy circles, I start to become an activist, and as such, I'm working everything like I'm tweeting. I started to tweet because of that. I came to the Facebook just and strictly for the basic income movement. I've learned a lot. I mean, I'm not a technical person. Then I also was co-editor for our second book on basic income with our academics. I have to say, in Slovenia, we had a really great support of academics from different universities, different faculties. They contributed their pieces, their thoughts in our book. They came, if we invited them to our gathering, they came and talked with the people. So that is probably one big, I don't know, important thing for any movement.
I'd like to also ask you, because you said you expected the finance, the Minister of the Welfare to accept your project. So what has been the major obstacle for making a basic income a reality? And also, even before that, if you can walk us through what you have proposed and how it can be feasible right away, and so why it hasn't been done.
Well, you know, actually, we do have an answer of that same ministry, because we do have a page on internet, democracy, e-democracy, and each citizen can propose to the government what he thinks the government should do. One citizen proposed that they should accept my proposal of introduction of basic income in Slovenia. And well, what they said, it's like the half of it was true, like that we don't have enough research, that it's kind of scary to go to such a big step. But the major part of the answer we found, like the most, as being the biggest problem is being scared for the employment in the government offices. As we all know, basic income, the core of it, it's making administration easier, more transparent, cheaper. So people are scared that in that way they will lose their jobs. And so the people who can work on it, who can make it better proposal, are against it. Well, that's like but I have to say that in front of the conference in Maribor, after 4 years, one citizen again proposed to the e-government and asked them, well, look, 4 years after the first proposal, would you please make another calculation? Can we update the numbers? And we got again the answer that they are not interested in. The answer is, well, if there's going to be enough public pressure, the government will think about it to make like update of the proposal, but not just for the sake of the argument, I say.
So tell us a bit more on this, because as I'm aware of, in the previous EU petition for the basic income, Slovenia came up quite high in numbers in terms of people supporting the idea of basic income. So what else then, what is a conflict between this proposal and the government per se? Also considering that Slovenia belongs to the EU, and as such, you know, it could be that a national movement such as basic income could be in conflict with what the EU proposes, or does it have to go through the EU first in order to become a nationally implemented model? What do you say?
Well, when the proposal came out, it was actually the idea that social welfare system is actually maybe the only one, the last one, which was not subordinated to European policies. In that way, we thought we are still autonomous and that we can find a way how to support our people. Well, lately, we are very much trying to work with our European colleagues. And well, may I share our idea, strategy for 2020?
For sure, this is what the Hangout is all about. Go ahead.
Yeah, that came out in Maribor. Well, our strategy is that until 2020, we will have one European country who will have basic income, and that we are going to have wide EU steps toward basic income. So maybe partial, or in a way because we talk about a lot about Euro dividend, and also about maybe not so connected with this quantitative easing, and so on. But nevertheless, this strategic goal is really in front of our eyes. And of course, if I may say, there are some countries who are hoping to be the first one. Well, Slovenia would, of course, would like to be the first one. Actually, few years ago, we started to talk that Slovenia is excellent example for, or excellent case for experiment. It's only 2 million people, and in a way, we do have a feeling that we are kind of how to say it, rabbit in experiment of this economic crisis right now. So why not to be in a way experiment in something good as well?
I agree on that, because I've talked with people and we've had hangouts precisely on the mentality also that exists in Slovenia, and having been part of Yugoslavia, and the culture of the people in a socialist way, so to speak. So would you see that there is then this readiness in Slovenia to welcome a basic income based on this past, or is there no linkage to it? What would you say?
Well, some people would like to say that, and some people would like to make such a linkage. But I just read one of our most famous anthropologists, Vesna Godina. She wrote a book, and she said that's not true. Slovenia is such a small country that in a way we were always equal. Maybe like in Norwegian, I've heard a few weeks ago. Such a small country where everyone knows everyone. It's like a little family. And that's the reason for more egalitarian approach, and having a feeling that we should care for everyone of us.
Well, in the context also of how to finance it, can we go into that as well? Because this is a great subject that many people are not entirely clear on when they hear, okay, let's give an unconditional basic income, which is a sum of money given to everyone. In this case, in the context of Slovenia, and which is your actual specialty, so to speak. Can you share with us what your proposal is?
Yes, I can, but can I give you a first statement, like when I got the idea how to do it? Because when I've heard the idea, definition of basic income, that everyone should get basic income to survive without means testing or obligation to work, I thought, well, in Slovenia we already have that. Because in our social security law, it is said, welfare system, it's like based upon this. People who can work will work and live upon work. And the people who cannot work, the society, state will provide for. And who are the people who cannot work? Children, unemployed, retired, and sick. But as I said, there are people in work and people who cannot work. But who is left out? No one. So you see, if this is our system, we can say, well, we already have that. But then, of course, you ask yourself or me, why then we do need basic income? This is because each part of that system has its holes, leaks. Nothing works 100%. For instance, we talked before, like that only unemployed people do need basic income. In our country, that's not true. People who work, they don't get paid for 3 months, for 6 months. And they do go to jobs. They work, but they don't get paid.
Why is it so? That's weird.
Yes, you see. Well, it is weird. This is because actually, like a lot of people will say, our law enforcement doesn't work well. Inspections, courts, everything like left the workers, I don't know, alone, without help. Of course, they say, well, you can go to court and get your wage, but you have to have money to do that. So then we have unemployment insurance. It's again like the young people who work not enough time won't get it. Then it's very small. It's not. It doesn't last long enough. It's nothing like unemployment insurance in Scandinavia, of course. Then we have children welfare. It could be okay, but of course, because it's not universal childcare, it's upon their parents. And if their parents are like formally employed but without means, we cannot help them because formally they have means. And that's why you see we are proposing a system which will just back up the old system, like giving them all the first little level, and then like we can then make it better on the higher level. But first of all, we have to make secure that no one is hungry, that everyone can like pay the electricity bills and so on. But then now I can go how I proposed. Well, I did make I did simplify the system. So this we have still about 65 social benefits. I search for the one who are meant to be like securing existential needs, and there are 16 of them. So I propose that 16 of them would be changed into basic income. And then, of course, I proposed also that tax allowances would go away completely. So no differences through any tax loops and so on. So it would be really be much more easier to administrate, but that's only half of the proposal. The second one is this is only for children, unemployed, and the people who are getting money from the revenue, public sources. For the retired people and people in employment, I suggested a different way. That and that way that each employer should send the part of wage high as a basic income, like 300 euros, I propose, to the tax administration office. And afterwards, they will send that in the same day to the employer. This is only like a backup for the employers who are not paying wages. Because, you know, if employer doesn't send the money, then the state has to come between. And our tax office has to give the money in between. Afterwards, state can enforce them to pay what they owe. So it's the only way how to make the state really like playing their role in securing people getting their wages paid.
Okay, so this gives me another perspective of basic income as a way to fix the problems that are embedded into how the system is not working as it should, which is then sort of like creating a solution to it temporarily. But have you considered that also with, let's say, people being more empowered with this basic income and maybe not being as tight with scarce amount of money, how can we then ensure that the system in its root is fixed? Because it doesn't really make sense. Like, I was really surprised that workers are not being paid. That doesn't really make sense. So from your perspective, basic income would cover for the workers' rights. So how to fix the system in itself to ensure that these workers are paid and maybe then not really require the basic income? Or what's your perspective on this?
Well, it's true that in Slovenia we are seeing basic income not as a mean just for a one cause. As you said, it's like fighting for the workers' right. Of course, it would help also to the poor, the poorest people, because you know there are some people who are not getting any help, even they deserve, because I don't know, they cannot find the way through administration or whatever causes. But emancipation is also the one of the major motives initiatives. Like, you know, how I got into this, like when I got the first book of basic income, it was the case that I was reading newspaper, and I said to my colleague, well, look, only retired people are writing from their heart. They are not scared to tell the truth. Why? Because if they tell the truth, their retirement cannot go away. But if you are employed and you say something that, I don't know, the people who are your job depends on, here's something that you say, well, you are scared to say the truth. And this is especially true for Slovenia, because I always imagined, like in America or in Mexico, whenever, if something goes wrong in the city with 2 million, you just go to the city with 5 million. But what can you do in a country with 2 million, with our special language? You are forced to be here. And you are forced to be really careful what to say that your words won't hurt you in the future. That's why Slovenia really needs basic income. But of course,
that makes sense in the context, and that's why we also like talking about basic income and the specificity of each country, because even if there is Europe, it is not like in the States that you have every state speaking English, but you do have a country with 2 million people only speaking Slovenian, so that's really relevant. And we have some comments, questions, so I will go through them. First one is from Hilda Ratz, and she's saying, I would like to comment that Slovenia has been labeled, based on research, as one of, if not the country with the highest levels of corruption in the EU. So it is really easy to not pay workers, promise to do so for a while, and then vanish. Thanks for that relevant information, Hilda. Any comment on this?
Well, it depends on how this index of corruption is gathered. Because, of course, I know about these numbers, but I also know how they are gathered. Like, if they're asking employers what they think, like directors of the enterprises and so on, it's not how the average people are living. Because, you know, when we heard about corruption in one country, we thought, well, you have to pay policemen to get your to let you go. You have to pay to the doctor in the medicine in the faculty. Nothing of that happens. Only the I don't know how to say, chaos, anarchy is on the employment market. Well, that's why a lot of people connect what is happening in Slovenia with all those neoliberal deregulation system. Well, that's why a lot of basic income activists are actually like against of those neoliberal states and regimes and ideas. And we all, what we have of these neoliberal things is only anarchy.
Okay, let's go on to the next question. And this is from Valentin Rosman, and he's saying, I have experience with social support in Slovenia, and I found out that people are not informed properly about their rights and options. After losing your job, you have to investigate for yourself, or else you will be left out with any money. So this is like a lack of awareness on basic workers' rights. What would you say on this?
It's true. It's true in a way. It's true that people don't know even how their state is functioning. Even worse, because now they have to learn about how Europe is functioning. I mean, but of course we have to give some credit to the people. We had one state, and then we got what someone called transition. And now we have to learn in European Union. And all those laws were not accepted in democratic way, not by the people. How could people learn them? How could people live by them if it's not made by them?
I fully agree on this, and I have discussions before with people from the Netherlands as well, and we keep bumping into this obstacle, which is the EU in itself and how it is existent as an organism that is not really democratic per se. So I very much do see that a proper obstacle, if you kind of call it that, is having to be adjunct to the EU, and how this becomes an obstacle maybe for basic income as well, in terms of how it can become a national project. So thanks, Valentin, for your comment. And moving forward on this precise subject, first of all, in citizen awareness, and how would you see it would be more, let's say, feasible to make people aware of basic income? I mean, you've been sharing how they're sometimes not aware of their basic workers' rights. So what is lacking in terms of making a basic income something that people know can be a fact and can be a living right as well?
Well, I can share also what we decided on European level. Like everything goes in that direction. What we have spoken right now about a lot more democracy in European Union. So we are helping right now to make it better, this European civil initiative. And maybe we will try later on, again, with a referendum of 1 million people. Then, of course, it's also like talking to the people on the higher posts, like in European Parliament. So some people in our group are doing that, taking that job. But mostly is like getting people to believe that different future is possible. And this is terribly difficult, because in a way you don't understand why they like so much repeating like mantra, nothing can be changed, and everything is the same, and everyone is corrupt, and so on, and you cannot stop them. But well, we are doing it. I mean, we can see, I don't know, the share of people talking with us. I would almost like to show you some things they've made. Like, can I show you like newspaper from the France? Can you see it? Like it's like I don't know. I cannot.
Yes.
So, and we have some like guy from Switzerland showed us that like postcard, giving to the people and ask them how they imagine they will live through basic income. We have like papers from attack in Germany. Oh, I would like to say also the idea I am very much fond of, talking about shorter working week. Because you know, if we ask ourselves, why would we like to have basic income? To be free to choose how to live. But if you have no possibility to get job, how can you choose to be employed or not to be employed? So I mean, it has to be, there has to be things you are able to choose. Otherwise, why to be free?
This has to do also with, for example, what we propose with the living income. Precisely, we tap into, okay, we have to, we will have more time free, because we do see that working as much is not required. There's a lot of automation that is coming into the market as well. So we have to cover that as well. And it is more of a political process, not just giving the basic income. So that's my next question in terms of Have you considered making of the proposition of a basic income a political party in itself that can stand as independent movement toward a basic income in Slovenia? And how can these, or how could these function along with Slovenia being part of the EU? Is this possible?
Well, first, if I may, a little bit history. I mean, two elections ago, people from our basic income movement went to the 4 different parties and tried to be elected as basic income activists within different parties who said in a way they are for basic income. But it was only maybe just for show off. Then at the European elections, we actually started the independent basic income list, because we only need like 7 European parliaments. So we found enough people among us. But lately we are in a way I'm not thinking about political parties right now, because we had such a strange history in political space. Like each elections, one new party, like 1 month old, got elected. I mean, it's you don't know what's going on. I'm more fond of making trade union or being a part of trade union, who will go and join like economical social council where all those decisions are taken. And we actually got in January of this year one confederation of trade unions who accepted a resolution to fight for basic income. So in that line, but on the European level, there is something more going on. Of course, there are political parties. In Bulgaria, we've heard right now, it's one who has like basic income among the first 3 pillars. We've heard a rumor about one political party. Our friend is close to it from this European movement, but I don't want to share it right now because it's not public yet. But yes, we do like to think about it, but maybe not on national level. You know, it would be really great idea to have a party started on European level, like basic income party.
Yeah, because if that can be done, that would be most ideal, actually.
It would be.
So I'd like to also share with you, there's the Basic Income Partij, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's in the Netherlands. So if you can research on it, there's people already working on it quite actively.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
Great. So we have some comments. Let's go to them also to finalize almost a hangout. We have one from Joku, and he's saying, you have mentioned that funding and implementing a basic income can be done within the current system by making simple adjustments. Would you say that the obstacle to implementing basic income is not a technical problem as much as it is a psychological one?
True, completely true. And usually when you ask people why are against, well, it's funny. First of all, usually they say they don't trust other people, that the other people will behave in the right way. But funny again, who are those people who are saying that? Are really, I don't know how to say, it's like neoliberal way of thinking. It's usually like really the most egoistic person who will say that he doesn't trust the other person. So It is, and we usually say right now that basic income we take as an indicator, LACMUS. I don't know how to say it, you know, like a chemical indicator who is showing you what kind of person you are and how well you understand where the world is going. Because I have to say that we are most strongly connected also with environment movement, because we see that connections that we have to produce less. We are for degrowth, for de-investment, and that's why we also need basic income, so that people won't be scared of such a great transition time. Well, yes, it is psychological problem.
I fully agree on that, and that's also why we do these hangouts, to make people aware of this idea that is running globally now, and to also walk a lot through the psychological aspect of it, because we have precisely found that this is one of the major obstacles. So thanks for corroborating on that. We have another one from GIB Food Creation, and he's saying, as a vegetable farmer, I am focused on producing food human need, making sure that people having food makes them less independent of money, UBI. So that's like food sovereignty comment. Do you have a comment on that?
Well, when we started to think about it, of course, according to definition, we would like to have basic income in cash because of independence. And because of variety of people, like with all those people with different kinds of diets, it's so terrible to say people, well, you have to eat rice or you have to eat wheat or something like that. But of course, if we are thinking of really terrible times that can come, of course, we would go to food stamps if we would have to. And that way, yes, food would be the first thing.
Absolutely. So we have another comment from Hilda Ratz, and she's saying, in Slovenia, we are right now witnessing the handing of power from one newly formed party to another, and no one really knows what to do, because, like all over the world, they're trying to fix a system that cannot be fixed. People vote them because, and the comment is halted there, so we will wait for the second part. I'd like to, in the meantime, as she writes the second part, ask you about women in politics, because this is one of the subjects that we will be also discussing next week with our guests. So in the European version of it, we have also the context of the basic income movement being presided by a female. So can you share a little bit about it as well?
Yes, of course, and I'm really glad that Barb Jacobs is our chair again. And I have to say that in our European movement, we again achieved the ideal gender parity, and we are striving for it very much so. I have to say also that basic income movement in Slovenia is one of really rare civil initiatives who has enough or equal women among them. And I actually believe that's why this movement was so successful. Because we actually can see when two diligent women came in, like one journalist who started to work on social media and the other one. So I do believe that basic income, in a way, without the support of women, we will never see it. But of course, I can see it other way around as well. I mean, that without basic income, we will not see enough for women in politics. So in a way, it's like a circle question, what will happen the first, but I see that connection very much.
Yeah, and also for the sake of being inviting women, not only in Slovenia, of course, but overall around the world, to not get scared of politics, to realize that we can be part of it and be quite effective in it. Examples such as yourself also being a major motor behind the UBI movement in Slovenia is very much an example to follow. So thanks for that as well. Continuing with from Hilda's comment, she's saying, in terms of poor people vote them because they are there to be voted, in terms of why people vote on certain parties. If a new option like a basic income party was presented, then surely people would listen because they seem to be tired of the same old stuff from current politicians. What's your perspective?
Well, people are voting for those new parties because they still are able to hope. I mean, and they're voting like for the newcomers because they don't have bad experience with them. I'm not so sure about basic income party. I mean, our election system is such a disaster. It's made up so that, in a way, not completely true, but some kind of political oligarchy is behind it, and it's really difficult to manage that system. So I'm not sure.
My perspective is, and I've shared this before in other hangouts, is that at the moment it seems very, messy, chaotic to change the system at its root. But also with the provision of a living income, as you were mentioning before, there will be more free time. And at the same time, with this giving to the people, there's going to be more awareness of social responsibility, which means making of politics an integral part of not only our education, but also like a responsibility that we have to change the system if we see all the flaws. You've mentioned quite a few, for example, in Slovenia. And if we look at why it has happened, is because we have lacked participation in it. So that's why I do stick with the idea that going into politics is not only having a new party to vote on as a platform, but being part of it and ensuring that one gets educated as to how the system currently functions, finding the flaws, and so finding a way to correct it. Because if we created it, or we allowed it to be created, it can be deconstructed, it can be reformed, and that's also part of what we see should be an aspect to consider going hand in hand with basic income as a giving and receiving of responsibility and living rights. So I'd like to thank you very much for your participation in this hangout. Any last words in order to maybe invite people to be part of their movement? How can they join in, or how can they contact you, for example?
Well, in Slovenia we have Facebook group. We call it Univerzalni temelj dohodek. We have like 3 different Twitter accounts of different activists. They can find me by name, and of course we have our internet site. So actually, right now we have abundance of information already. People are starting to complain it's too many information. Maybe not enough action, but information we have right now almost enough.
Okay,
action is needed.
Yes, information is going to be there, so it is more like an invitation for people to get involved into this. There was a conference, that this is also part of the reason of sharing this hangout. There was a conference in Maribor, in the city of Slovenia, the past week, where anyone could join in.
Sorry, Maribor, it's not DC of Slovenia. DC is capital?
Yes.
No, it's the second biggest city.
Oh, okay.
It's actually a small industrial city.
Okay.
So,
in that context, can anyone join in for these discussions, for example?
From where?
many people from around the world came into this discussion, but I mean, in terms of inviting people to be part of the movement, can they be part of this Congress, or do they have to apply through certain methods, or how can they be part of these discussions?
No, right now it's going to, we will spread membership in European organization. So everyone can join on the European side. It's going to be invitation. Also, European organization has Twitter accounts, more than one, because we always say that we would like to share that in Europe, like ways toward basic income are really diverse and different. And we are not hiding that. We appreciate the differences. So yes, it's going to be like possible to join us, of course.
Great. So we will leave links to that so that people have it easy there. Thanks a lot for being here, for your time. And to our viewers as well, thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next week, continuing with basic income, this time from the North American side. Thanks once again, Valeria. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Marlena. Good night.
And to you, the viewers, see you next time.